Yeah.
So, Acle, let's speak about your forthcoming album called
Mm-hmm.
War of Being.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's been 5.5 years since the release of Sonder, your previous album, and you surely toured a lot. You passed from Greece, we worked together, and there
Mm-hmm.
was the pandemic as well. However, was it so complex for you to work on War of Being that it finally took you so long?
Was it complex? Sorry, did you
Yeah,
say?
yeah, complex, yeah.
Like for the writing part of it, you mean?
Because we will mention later that it's not only the writing of the record. You've done so many things for this record apart from writing music.
Sure. Well, I think the main thing that comes to mind was the timing of COVID was actually strangely kind of positive for us, kind of lucky timing because we just finished our touring campaign with Sonda at the end of 2019. And then obviously COVID hit at the start of 2020, and we just started focusing on writing the new album then. So it was actually selfishly quite useful for me just to be able to focus, like no distractions, like, oh, I've got to stay in the house. I guess I'll work on the album, it's kind of useful actually, just so yeah, in a weird way. So yeah, that was very handy. But
Yeah.
then there was obviously there was Portals as well, which came, I think that was 2021. I can't quite, or end of 2020, I can't remember now.
Yeah, 21,
Um, uh, that was obviously tricky because Jay couldn't make it because of COVID, so that had its complexities. But also got Mike Mallion from Monuments to help out. But yeah, that just made things a bit difficult and trying to rehearse with face masks on and everything. But yeah, we got through it. It was fine. It was all good.
how important was Portals for you? A live album fully filmed, was it a way to do something different during the pandemic?
Yes, and just to kind of keep stay relevant a little bit. And it was the first time we'd done a gig in probably 2 years. I think the gig before that was like Ukraine or something. That was our last gig um, before COVID. And it's 2 years. Then we did Portal, so it felt weird having not really done a performance for 2 years and then going straight into that big production. But it was also kind of useful in the fact that we could add all this production, all the lights, lasers, etc. It kind of made us realize that, oh, that's done really well and it looks amazing. It'd be nice to be able to implement that into our live shows eventually, and we did at Arctangent Festival. So it just kind of gave us this could work live. So it was yeah, difficult to take on the road for a full tour, but that's it gave us some ideas perhaps. So it's definitely useful in that respect.
Mhm. Uh, the first thing I noticed when I got the album on my computer was the cover of the album. Every Tesseract
Mm-hmm.
album so far was
It's quite
depicting a
minimal.
certain geometrical shape or something like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I could change everything, and the cover was created in collaboration between AI and human, as you say.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of. Why did you do
Well,
this?
yeah.
Did it have to fit the concept?
It's mainly Moss who deals with the artwork, but we use a lot of AI for inspiration, like ideas, and then as they came together, we'd use more of the human element to actually develop the final product. But it was definitely a big part of the inspiration tool. We did hit up a lot of artists that we liked and wanted to work with, but they either weren't available or they were charging five figures, and we haven't got the budget for that. We can't afford that. I think because of NFTs, like their prices for artists had just gone up, like skyrocketed up. And we'd spent all the money on the recording studio budget. So we thought, okay, well, let's use AI just for some inspiration, and then we can work with humans to actually finish it up. And it's the same with the video as well. Like the models for the samurai, they were kind of the samurai models characters. They were AI. They started as AI concepts, and then they were obviously designed by human artists and modelers. So yeah, combination of the two, nice balance.
Yeah. Your first single and video clip lasts something more than 11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how did your label react when you asked for that particular song to be filmed
The
as a video
label,
clip?
the They're a prog label, so they didn't mind, I don't think.
Yeah,
They're
but
used to it.
are they paying for that?
Yeah, true. Yeah, they
So
would.
they minded.
Um, they seemed fine with it, to be honest. Didn't hear any. I mean, it's our manager's suggestion, I think. Like we'd put the idea in the air, but then our manager said you should just release this one, the longest one, as a single, the first single. Maybe the label gave some stick to the manager, but we didn't hear about it. So, I mean, they helped fund portals as well. So yeah, they've been very helpful in that regard. So yeah, they're good guys.
Hmm. Uh, the other unusual thing you've done is the sci-fi adventure game,
Oh
War
yeah.
of Being, War of Being,
Mhm.
that's going to be released in a few days. Uh, uh,
It's early access is out already.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it has early access, yeah, in
Yeah.
Steam. Uh,
Hmm.
it is based upon the music and the concept of the album. And
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong, your singer Daniel is the lead designer of the company that's
Correct.
behind it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this? Because it's really interesting. Uh, because you have a following of younger on the audience that's into computer games as well. So it's a
Mhm.
very nice combination.
Well, I know, and this is mainly Dan's baby, I guess. I've only had a chance to play the start of the game because I've been so busy because I've got a newborn, so time is quite precious at the minute. um, but I know years ago, like Dan and Jay are quite big with the whole, or they used to be quite big on the whole Twitch streaming thing, live performance on Twitch. And there's a nice community there of like, Tesseract fans and on a Discord channel as well. And we've kind of spoken about trying to make some kind of online multiverse or metaverse, sorry, not multiverse, metaverse, just for fans to hang out in, sort of thing. But we had different ideas, like a chat kind of room, but multiplayer and in VR. But that kind of spawned the idea for the game that Dan's created, essentially. And he's implemented the whole concept into it. I don't fully grasp the whole concept that Moss has come up with because it's just it goes off on one. But it's like there's all kind of arcs to it, and you'll there's little Easter eggs in there. Like you'll find Jay as a statue in there, and it'll have like stems of the drums in there. Then you get to the end of the game, and the stems become part of the song. So there's all nice little Easter eggs and stuff in there. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Um, you uh, you tend to do different things every time in your records. That's why you are called a prog band, anyway,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't do the same things over and over again. So,
Mm-hmm.
what else, apart from having a video game based on your album, did you try to do differently this time? Because
It's
you
many,
never cease to surprise your fans, and you surely don't do the same album over and over again.
I was gonna say it's mainly down to the music. I think I'd like to think. Well, I know a lot of people have said that it feels like a mix between our first album, One, and like well, I think there's quite a few comments of people saying it sounds like One and Sonder or Altered State and Polaris. It seems that people are kind of picking up on like a mix of every album in this new album, which wasn't a conscious decision. It's just kind of come about that way somehow. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's just
So
happened.
you didn't have any conscious decision to make something different this time. You just played your music and
Yeah,
let it
I mean,
flow.
it's still got that Tesseract sound to it, I think.
Yeah.
But it's sort of just experimented more. Um, like, I mean, I do a lot of the 95% of the writing. This is the first time it was more collaborative, um, in the sense that we just got into a studio and worked as a band for 6 weeks, and we hadn't really done that before. Just be in the same room, living with each other for 6 weeks. So, for example, there's a song called Legion. That was just a 2 minute idea to begin with, which everyone wanted to use, but I didn't know how to finish the song. So I was working on tracking some guitars at some point, and then Jay and Amos, drummer and a bass player, were jamming some ideas together. And they came back to me one evening and said, "Oh, check this out. It'll link up to this 2 minute idea we had." I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And we all kind of started to flow together and mix together, and then that became a full-fledged song, which is Legion, and then Dan went to town on it. So it was just a nice change to how we'd normally work, because normally it would just be me basically just in the studio by myself working on ideas and sending it out online for, you know, their thoughts basically. So it's just a different way of working, and there's a lot of that in this one. And the same with like the song Burden, there was a lot of to and fro between me and Amos working on different structures, because I think we went through at least 10 different versions or iterations of that song structure, and it changed a lot. So it was nice to be able to do that for this album.
How did the idea come to create the 2-song EP called Regrowth for the people of Ukraine?
Oh yeah. That kind of came about because those 2 songs were old, really old demos from like 2007, 2008. That's just like what, 15 years old. And we'd wanted to use them on an album, and we were hoping to use it on this album. But then when it came to us starting to record the songs, we realized that they didn't really fit. It just didn't fit with us sonically with the rest of the album. So we thought it'd be a shame just to waste them. So that's why we released them before the album, as a way of just, you know, being able to get them out there and make use of it. You know, it's just in a little way. So yeah.
Yeah, and why did you do that for the people of Ukraine? You wanted to show your unity to those people.
Ooh, yeah.
You played
sure,
in Ukraine, lots
I was going to say the last gig we played was I can't remember the name of the place now. Yeah, the one I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah,
We played like Kiev and Kharkiv. That was the last place we played before COVID. Obviously, that's just leveled now, which is horrible. But yeah, it was to support that, because we've always had a good fan base and good shows there. So yeah.
Being born and raised in England, how did the progressive rock bands of your country influence you? Or did you have you heard nothing about bands like Marillion or I don't know?
Yeah, I don't listen to the more modern prog bands, but I was sort of brought up on Pink Floyd, and that's always stuck. Excuse me. Yeah, the biggest one's Pink Floyd. I'm always chasing David Gilmour's tone and failing. So yeah.
Your concept deals with artificial intelligence. How do you see artificial intelligence in music and in life in general? Do you think that people will be able to use it for good? Or
I hope so.
Are you afraid that bands might use AI singers, for example, someday, or journalists will write AI reviews?
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? I think there's a balance to be had. I don't think there's anything wrong with using it, because we've been using forms of AI, and, you know, when it comes to recording, even if it's just basic, you know, sort of quantization or tuning or something like that. I think when you start to use it for everything, that's when it's stupid. I think, you know, it just becomes completely soulless if you're using it for recording, creation, mixing, and mastering. I think that's when it gets too much. But I don't see a problem. There's a fine balance, but finding that balance is difficult, I guess. Like AI mastering can help some people, but personally, I find like that's a bit of it's a soulless. Like it's an art to mastering, and the same. I don't think there's AI mixing yet, but I bet there will be one day. I think that's probably a little bit of a step too far, because you want to be able to inject some human element into it. But if you need a bit of AI for part of the process, and I don't see a problem with that, it's just when it takes over everything, then that could get a bit weird, I think. But there's those have you seen those Gen AI created things? They're like 10-hour loops on YouTube of Gen AI created, like all the beats and riffs, all AI generated. It sounds okay, like the first 10 seconds, you're like, oh, and it's like, oh, and then it just starts to feel soulless, for lack of a better word. Yeah, awkward, yeah. So it's like, it's kind of impressive, but it's still lacking. It doesn't look like human touch. So yeah.
However, for example, a few weeks ago, I was in the studio, and there was a guy that told me, listen to this cover version of Don't Remember the Band. And it was great. And I said, who's the vocalist? And he told me AI.
Yeah, right. It's weird, isn't
AI'd the because they wanted to see how the cover version fits their own version of the song, how the original fits with their own cover version, and they used an AI of the singer of this band to match the music that they created. I think that somebody as well might as well use the AI singer and mix it properly, and you won't be able to understand anything if the producer is skillful. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit scary. I don't know
Yeah,
that.
it is. It's scary.
I'm not
I
sure
agree.
that people are mature enough to know to find the fine balance.
I think a lot of people would probably just want to extort it and make money out of it, like people already are doing. So, which is a shame. It's just human nature, I guess.
Yeah.
Bad side to it. But, yeah.
Being from UK
shame.
as well, how has Brexit changed the way you tour? And has it made it even more expensive, because it's 30%, 40% more expensive for any other band? But being from England, I guess it's even more expensive.
Yeah, the main thing now is it's the carnets. It's like a passport for our equipment. You've probably heard of it before. Obviously we have to get them to go to America or most places internationally, but now we have to get them for Europe as well. And it's just like it's another bit of unnecessary paperwork, which is just not needed, and expense as well. I think they cost like $1,000 just to get. It's just £1,000 just for a piece of paper. It seems so pointless, so yeah, it's more expensive. I think costs have just gone up in general, and perhaps that's not down to Brexit, but it's yeah, it definitely hasn't helped. Even the little things like just trying to get gear as well. Like if there's a piece of equipment we might need from Europe, and they have to pay, not always, but sometimes have to pay tax on that, via customs or whatever. Just little things. Yeah, it's
flight
not
tickets.
a fan.
Flight tickets have increased at least by 30-40%.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing live shows, hotel rooms are up. Flight tickets are up. Everything is up.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably more down to just the current state of the world, I think, isn't it?
But yeah.
It's not like the last American tour we did in 2018. We always go in a bandwagon, which is kind of like a big RV. And they're okay, they're cool. But we always said to ourselves, like, next tour we'll get into a proper bus so we can actually hopefully get some better sleep, and feel better on tour. So everyone just gets ill on a bandwagon because it's just groggy. But the price of what a bus used to be back then, it's just like 3 or 4 times that now. So it's just like it's always
because
reach,
there are because many of these enterprises who were renting bandwagons and tour buses and all that stuff closed down due to the pandemic. So the ones that were left behind have increased their prices
to make up for it. Yeah. And fuel prices.
How do you feel about these merch cuts from the venues?
Yeah, not a fan. We'll see. There's a few different things I've heard about that. I know Monuments are very vocal about it, obviously. Excuse me. I mean, I'm not against a small percentage, but it seems to have it's always been a thing since we started touring 10, 15 years ago. But I swear back then it was only like 10%, which is still not great. But now it seems to be like 25%, 30%, which is that's basically the profit margin, for most bands. So it's like, what's the point of selling merch almost? And I know some venues have even started to sell VIP tickets, which is just like a special part of the bar, maybe on a balcony, but it's got nothing to do with band VIP things. So it's just, they're kind of, they'll charge like £200 for a ticket, and none of that goes to the band. It all just goes to the venue or what conglomerate is owning that venue. So yeah, there's definitely a bit of extortion going on there, I think.
I think that in this case, everyone has to make money.
But they're already making money off the bands anyway, and through bar sales. And again, I'm not against a small cut, but I think 25% and up is just like taking a piss a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. Speaking with people in big labels, record labels, they have told me that there's going to be a gradual decrease of the physical music until it stops completely.
Mm,
There has been a case of that in a couple of big labels that I've spoken very, very recently. How do you
mm.
feel about music being almost solely digital?
I'm personally not that bothered because I stream everything.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I can see why people appreciate having a physical product. Be it vinyl, I get it. You know, I don't personally do that. Just maybe it's because I work with music when I'm not doing Tesseract stuff and I'm working on Tesseract. I'm working on other bands, mixing and producing other bands. So I just don't want to be stacked up with CDs and records everywhere. I just prefer to have it easily accessible. Um, but yeah, again, 50-50. I'm not a fan of physical media really, but I can see the appeal. And while I don't, it'd be a shame to see it completely disappear. I don't think it would completely disappear. Hopefully, I'd imagine vinyl would still be there, but it would
Yeah,
just keep going up in price and just become really sought after. Who knows?
yeah. What do you remember from your only visit in Athens in 2019?
That was a great show. I really enjoyed it. I was thinking of it when we started the call. So, were you working with us? Did you say?
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, we've been discussing about bringing this
Cool.
act to Greece for this tour, but I don't think it fit uh,
Right.
the touring schedule. I don't
I
think
mean,
that Greece
hopefully,
was part of the Southern Europe.
right.
Southeast Europe was
It's a
part
shame.
of the tour schedule, but I'm
I
sure.
love I'd love to. Hopefully, we can sort it out for later next year or 2025 when we're doing festivals, perhaps. Because I love playing there. It's a really good show. Excuse me. I want to play there more. It was just I remember it being a really good crowd. I think it was the first. There's a song we've got called Juno, and it's the first time we heard people actually just singing along like a football kind of anthem
Yeah.
almost along to the song Juno. It's just like, what is this? This is great, and it's really fun. So yeah, I'd love to come back to Greece. I love it there.
Yeah, that's quite typical of Greek
Yeah,
fans to
it's
sing along
fun. It's
with,
great.
or even they sing along even with the guitar solos and
Yeah. It's really fun.
the
I love it.
melodies from the instruments, which
Because
is
normally everywhere else in Europe who had been on tour, it's just people going like, you'll get moshes or something, or people at the back just going, yeah, it's all right. Or then we come to Greece and it's like, hey. So it's a nice breath of fresh air. That's it.
fantastic.